Hello, welcome to the brand new episode of UnLearn HR. This is Omkar, co-founder of BHyve. I'm so happy to share with you that today we have with us Mr. Muralidharan Chandrasekaran, or Murli, heading customer success at Yellow Messenger or Yellow.ai. We are today going to be talking about one of the most critical points in business, customer success, and how we can measure it and in fact look at ways to propel it further. Murli over here, who is joining us from Yellow.ai, is one of the person who I admire the most when it comes to delivering success at the customer space. He's been a technology veteran and investor, having worked in companies like IBM and Accenture. He's currently leading the post-sales team as head of customer success and strategy at Yellow.ai. He also leads the training and developer community at Yellow. And today's conversation is all going to be themed about how can job shadowing happen for successful customer successes. So welcome, Murli, and thank you so much for agreeing to do this podcast and this video interview with us. So,
Thanks a lot. Thanks for inviting me. I look forward to this session and also reaching out to your community and
yes.
putting across my thought process around customer success and shadowing in customer success.
Yeah, perfect. So, we spoke the word customer success about 6 times. Let's get down to the basics. How would you like to define a customer success role, and what's a persona of an effective customer success manager or a stakeholder who is responsible for customer success?
Yeah, but let me just take a step back and give a perspective of why customer success is very critical in the world that we live in, right? So, if you go to any company, pretty much functions which is out there. There's an R&D function or a product function. There's a sales and marketing function which kind of goes out and builds up and the money for the company, and then the post-sales organization which is out there, right? And from a CEO perspective, from the board perspective, what typically used to happen is they used to monitor the sales funnel, which is like how many customers can you put in the top, right? Or leads that you can put on the top, and how much converts in the bottom, right? But that world is now gone because previously there was an information asymmetry. So you could get a customer, you can retain a customer, or churn the customers. The customers churn used to be very high in most industries, and we all know that cost of acquiring a new customer is like at least 2x, 3x, then actually retaining a customer. So what we have done, at least at Yellow, or what we're trying to do in Yellow, is tilt this whole funnel into a bow tie. So you got a sales funnel here where you got your leads going in and then converting to a closure and account. And you got a bow tie here going, right? So your closed customers now adding to your pool where you have to service them very well, right? Because they got options to go out. It's not like they're stuck with your product or service. And then you got to renew it. So your classic sales top down is now tilted horizontally and has become bow tie kind of funnel, where it's a sales funnel and it's a customer success funnel. So now what's so different in this, right? The biggest difference is, unless you are making sure that every year your customer is gaining value out of your service or product, is not going to renew, whether it's software, whether it is service or whatever it is, right? So a recurring revenue business or any business, whether it's insurance or software, whichever it is, recurring revenue happens only when there is a recurring impact which the customer measures. So that's the context that the world has shifted around the customer success. Now, if you have to do that, if you have to make sure that customer has a recurring impact happening, you will have to have this role defined in a way that this role of customer success can articulate that value to customer. So that's the primary role of the customer success. That every customer who has got a product from you, make sure that he is getting an ROI defined and achieved and exceeded and delighted, right? To some extent delighted, if not delighted, at least achieving the ROI, and is able to communicate that to his stakeholders, whether it's within the company or outside the company, and make sure that you are positioned for renewal for next year. So that's what is the current way in which the customer success roles have actually turned around. So moving from a lot more reactive ticket-based supports that team used to provide to more proactive, data-enriched, more let's say customer-facing GTM-oriented teams and capabilities are now coming into the post-sales and customer success world. Okay.
Got it. No, over here now, I would like to understand because you lead a team of account managers, customer success guys, and when you are hiring or when you are actually training the account managers or customer success, what kind of skill sets do you like to instill? What kind of capabilities would you like to develop in your account managers? Or let's say, what kind of factory do you want to build? By which these are the kind of things outputs which can start coming out, which the
Yeah,
best account managers can come out.
absolutely. A bit about context on Hello AI. I think
Hmm.
it's pretty much applicable for every industry, but we are a
Hmm.
conversational AI platform provider. So we're a little
Hmm.
bit tech heavy providers, right? So you need to know a little bit of our own platform, and the end users are generally folks in marketing, sales, or some sort of functions who are techno-functional in nature. But of course, their superiors and the sponsors are business executives. So in this context, you take to any industry. For example, you join an insurance company, right? Now you're a customer success guy in insurance industry or a banking product guy, right? You need to know your product very, very well. So somebody who has huge, let's say, attitude and appetite and intent to know about your own company is the most important, right? I would define this even a little bit more important than knowing your customer. That's very important. That's my second one, right? You need to know your customer and absolute empathy around how your customers are kind of living through your product, right? So you just need to live and breathe your show. So you need to have super empathy around what your customers can go through. Like for example, I just came out. In fact, I'm sitting in a customer's office where we are doing it's an outbound call for a customer, and from our perspective, we were making about 2 lakh calls, or we were supposed to do about that 2 lakh calls uh, per month to help them achieve the target. For us, no, we did this calls and we were like able to achieve about 80% accuracy. For them, this 80% to moving that 80% needle to, let's say, 10 more percentage in terms of the call coverage is actually translating to, let's say, 2 to 3% in terms of the bottom line revenue. Now, that is not talked about. Mostly people think about, hey, I have achieved my 70%, 80% target. Now I'm pretty much done with, right? But your stakeholder on the other side of the table, the customer, he could be delighted by getting the 2% more. You won't be able to do that till you develop that empathy with the customer.
Hmm.
Then one of the very tough problem that I deal with is, making your organization aligned to serve your customers. It's not very easy because once you become fairly larger company, you get into silos. So you get into your sales marketing, your product team, your delivery team. So customer success functions have to be the silo busters actually. So
Hmm.
they have to be, let's say, very aggressive collaborators, silo busters, but also a bit more patient because even in an organization you have to rally around and make sure things are going to happen. So to summarize, you need to know about your own product and company that you're kind of offering. You can't go blank. They have to live in the customer's shoes for sure. You have to be a silo buster that's happening, and supremely patient with yourself and your little bit of people around you to make sure that you are able to bring right value to the customers. From the first.
Yeah.
So to summarize, Omkar, you should first know about your own company and the product that you're offering. Second, very close second is supreme empathy to the customer, the problem that he's trying to solve and what can make him successful in his organization. Probably get him promotions, right? Is what you need to be really aware of it. Third is essentially around silo busting, right? Bust the silos within your own organization to make sure that your company is centered around the customer rather than centered around yourself. And fourth, which is like patience. It's not going to be easy because a lot of time you are trying to solve problems which are across multiple departments. So you should be patient with your own self and patient with your own colleagues and customers as well. So yeah, I think these are the four things that a
Yeah.
successful CS leader should have.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope my kitty is trying to embody all the things which you said, all the adjectives that you said over here for customer success. I'm going to pick out on a point what you mentioned about organizations when they grow to a reasonable size. Let's say even at Yellow.ai, which are about 500 plus, growing at a phenomenal space. Um, Silos start to develop. One of the things, one of the leaves in the learning and development space is the 70-20-10 rule of learning, where 70% of the learning happens on the job by shadowing, 20% happens through peers, informal environments, and only 10% happens through structured. I want you to share your thoughts, your opinion about how important is it job shadowing when it comes to customer success roles. And do you think that that is actually the most effective way for anybody to start learning about customer success, customer engagement? Is it through job shadowing? Is that the most effective tool or a format?
No, it definitely is. And no, I have stood up this whole customer success team in the post-COVID era. So all my team, I think I've just met 2-3 members of my team, but
Mm-hmm.
got about 30-35 member team spread across the geography and some of them in other countries as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and we have experimented with quite a bit of options to help them scale up right from the day they're given offer, the way we have kind of help them bring on board
Mm-hmm.
and from the time they come on board and how do we scale them up. It's been a big challenge, to be very honest, and these are some of the things that we have done. Number one, because I told customer success guys have to be silo busters, I made sure
Mm-hmm.
that customer success guys for first 1.5 months kind of work with all teams. That starts with pre-sales. So
Mm-hmm.
all my customer success guys have a very solid pre-sales experience. So in a software company, it's a pre-sales, but if you're again, if you're a retail company or wherever, whichever industry you are, you need to go and be in your sales and marketing shoes. So definitely go spend some time, do a mini job rotation, make sure that you're helping close deals or run some campaigns for them so that they get that exposures. Second, they need to work with activation teams or the delivery teams or whatever team, right? So if it's let's say if you are a customer success guy, you better be there in your let's say professional services team. In my case, kind of helping deliver customers, or if in retail shop, go operate out of your shops to see what is happening. It's like manufacturing, go and see in the manufacturing center what's happening. So it's very important to see what happens, the delivery setup, so that you get a supreme appreciation around what's going on. Go spend time with your platform and R&D teams, because most of the times platform R&D teams are in their own world trying to do something. If not for anything, for them to know that you as an individual come join this company and you are
Mm-hmm.
going to ask for help later, builds
Mm-hmm.
both relationships and your own
Yeah,
appreciation for what is going to come in the future.
correct.
And of course, spend time with some of the good customer success managers here, right? So what we have done is, there are some star customer success manager, and we make sure that we pair and tag them together, right? We make sure the freshers are tagged to some of the star customer success manager, and
Mm-hmm.
during the process they get tagged. And
Mm-hmm.
nothing like as you told on the job training. So then
Yeah.
they take 1 or 2 customers, and they had to then go through the history of from the time the customer was told to the delivery to the product and service and ticket issues they have to handle. So it is probably the most complex or most comprehensive role that anybody
Mm-hmm.
could play in a company. I think other than my CEO, just my team has this visibility of what's happening
Mm-hmm.
across multiple sets of teams.
Yeah. No, that is interesting because you're I always like to look at customer success guys either as firefighters or as people who start the fire, right? And you always want to have firefighters on your side. I want to understand from your point of view. A lot of times because we talk to a bunch of CHROs, CEOs, CIOs as well about culture setting. What drives the culture of the organization? And I want to understand your perspective, your point of view about until what extent does the culture of the entire organization can be set on the basis of the customer success team? Are they the torch bearers, or are they the guys who, because they are at the bleeding edge of getting feedback, right? So are these the people who can also start setting the culture for the entire organization, subconsciously or intentionally?
Yeah, I think there is an evolution around what's happening, and now from an Yellow Messenger perspective, I've seen this growing from almost one member company, 3-member company to now about 600-member company. So initially, what happens is when you are small, when it's a founder driven, still a bit founder driven. We used to have a lot of our founders' orientation as culture as rest of the company's culture, right? Even it is now because for one reason that they are absolutely customer obsessed themselves, right? So they're very customer first founders, and we kind of let that ethos. But when we start building a big team and it's a very remote setup, it becomes incredibly hard to align around one particular goal because every team is optimizing for their own thing, right? So what we have done very clearly across the company is drive with some certain set of actions that is demonstrated by the senior leaders, including co-founders, myself, and all this, focusing on making sure customer wins. So hashtag customer win is one of our the most important thing that we kind of swear by and run. But what happens in the middle? In the middle, to make sure that hey, it's not just your all hands or your AMA sessions, all the one-to-one meetings. To make sure that this is part of the core culture, we have actually instituted two three things. One is the voice of customer program. So essentially, we make sure that there is enough and more voice of customers coming and talking to various teams. So these are enabled by a lot of customer sessions with our teams, which sometimes don't get to hear from the customers, right? Most of our sales team is talking to customers, right? They don't get to hear from customers on what is their pain points or what's happening for sales. Same is true for product and engineering team. So we make sure the voice of customers is coming through. We do use some of the traditional tools like EPS, all those metrics that comes as a lead indicator for us to uh, be a guiding principle of where we are and where we need to head. But what really kind of North Star metrics that drives all our company, right, is around how much expansion and delight that you can drive to your customers. So two things we do very religiously. What is your expansion revenue that you have in your company? Plus, what is the expansion ROI that you can drive for your customers? Now you take these metrics and you make sure that your entire organization and your culture is aligned to support these metrics. I think that's the supreme and most important role of a chief customer officer, and that's what my CEO also kind of empowered me to do it, and that helps us to change the organization culture and break the silos.
Okay, fantastic. No, this has been great. I just want to ask one last question about what are those three tips for any head of customer strategy or client success. What are the three tips? Be it software industry, be it non-tech, be it manufacturing. Client success is critical for everybody. It's the North metric for as small startups as ours to as large corporations as yours. What are the three main tips or giveaways would you like to share by which you can empower your team to perform better about coming in from a leader's perspective?
Yeah, I think in the current context that you're all operating in, all of this are very in the context of remote working and all these things. It's all about having that connect with your own team. I think understanding the pulse of your own team and taking care of your own team is probably the number one thing that you could do. It's very incredibly hard because it's very easy to be passively resisting to a lot of things that you want to bring about and do it. So for you to win the confidence of your team and make sure that you are able to move them in a direction that you would want to move, may not be what all the direction that you want to move at the pace that you want to move. Obviously, taking in some inputs, making sure the vector is aligned in the right direction, and making a steady progress along with the team is a number one skill set. So knowing your team and building your confidence in the team. Second is, I think, demonstrating yourself, right? So you can't be an armchair consultant. So you need to, you can't, if you have, it's Corona and you can't, if you're not going to meet customers or not showing up on the calls to deal in difficult situations or difficult issue, the team is not going to stand by it. So you have to lead by example, because again, it's in a big company which is in this stage of growth. Everybody is kind of looking up for leaders. So that one person who can change, because that one person will be looked upon by other 2-3 people, and that 2-3 people will be looked upon by another 2-3 people. So you need to, at whatever stage it is, you have to lead by example, making sure that you are successful and you're able to show the value to the rest of the team. And third is, I think, very, very important, at least in this role, is about stakeholder management, because you're obviously going to be, working with a lot of constraints, because sales would have, generally sales is aggressive in most places, right? They would kind of, push the radar, and it's right way. It's good for customers, it's good for us, because they're trying to be the torch bearer in terms of the art of possibles a lot of times. But product might be just getting ready, they're just trying to get things out, and there's a friction and tension where customer is kind of struggling, or something is not getting shipped to customers on time. So you need to make sure that your stakeholders are taken care, and obviously with supreme transparency around what's happening, and in a very positive manner, the things are progressive for all of us. So again, to summarize, uh, team management, to manage your team and make sure that you're doing what's right, and you're put them on the right path. Second is leading by example. You can't just be an armchair consultant. Third is again collaboration, and making sure that you are making sure that you are managing all the stakeholders, and taking the ship in the right and positive manner.
Got it. This has been great. I'm pretty sure everybody who's just listening to this are going to have very important, great takeaways. Thank you so much, Murli, for taking out your time and sharing your wisdom. I really appreciate it, and I'm sure that our listeners are going to be benefiting from those. So thank you so much, and thank you for supporting BHyve through the pretty much start of its journey, and as we steer towards scaling up.
No, I'm very delighted. I guess tools like BHyve can really help in a lot of tacit knowledge, because the way in which you guys are building this platform, again in the context of completely remote from remote working, a global organization like ours, having this tool significantly boosts up the tacit knowledge transfer between one team member and another team member, and can drive up the productivity, and also improve the culture. I mean, why not? I mean,
Yeah.
we are able to talk on similar terms, engage with the customer on similar manner,
Yeah.
and net improve customer experience.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for those encouraging words and your encouragement in all forms. And we look forward to furthering our engagement with you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks so much.